So we got a question here from Layla about email strategy. And she says, I would love to know how to map out, structure, etc., a good email strategy and not just suggesting emails, but she actually wants to know like what the thought process is, what you would send to people, and what she needs to consider when crafting that entire strategy for clients. It's much like any kind of copy. There are people who are going to have different formulas, different suggestions for specific step-by-steps that you should use. As we've said many times before, there is no one right answer. So I always try and think about it conceptually. And with email strategy in particular, the thing I'm always thinking of is what is the end goal of this sequence? So forget about how many emails there are for a second. Like, I don't care how long the emails are. I don't care how many there are. I just want to know, what are we actually trying to do? What is the end goal? Let's say, for example, the end goal of this email sequence is to get someone to buy a lawnmower. They've signed up. They got a lead magnet from you. So they put in their email in exchange for a free leaflet on picking the perfect lawnmower. And we know that the end goal of this sequence is to get them to buy a lawnmower. Then we have something to go off. We have what they're already expecting, what they already know, and where we want them to get to. Those two things, in my opinion, are the most important things you need to understand from an email sequence, because you know where you're going, you know your destination, and you know how to keep them on the rails for getting there. Expectations and something we call message matching is extremely important. You may have heard this in other places where we talk about going from, say, an ad to a landing page. You want to make sure that whatever you've said in that ad is also being mirrored on the landing page. Because if you start an ad by saying there's a brand new series of lawnmowers in, and they're perfect for people who have gardens that are less than 100 square feet. I actually don't know what the square footage measurements are, so that could be like tiny, but we have this. They click the ad, they go to the landing page, and on the landing page, it all of a sudden starts talking about, have you thought about the blades that you need for the length of grass you have? And it's like, whoa, like what? I thought you were going to tell me about this new series of lawnmowers. You need to message match between points of copy. So knowing what they've already done before you send the first email is crucial to understanding what you're going to say to them. If we know they're already in a place where they're expecting to learn more about the right lawnmower to pick for them, then we're going to send them something relevant to that. If you've watched our videos before, which you can find on youtube.com/copy that, you will have heard us talk about the stages of awareness. In a very real sense, a lot of the time, any copy, but especially emails, you can kind of start with the stage of awareness that they're in and almost do one email per stage of awareness. I'm not saying that's a perfect formula. I'm not saying it's the right way to do it. But if you stick with that concept that you're already familiar with, you have this very clear path in front of you where, okay, I know what they're expecting. I know what they've seen before. I know where we're going. I know I want them to be most aware and to buy the product. So therefore, they're solution aware. I need them to get them to product aware, and then I need to convince them to get to the page and buy. There is no right or wrong answer. There is no, you need to do 2 emails per point, or you need to do exactly 1 per section. If you just start off with the basics, with something that feels logical to say, well, we're going to convince them by the end of this email to move to this stage of awareness, and then this email to move to this stage of awareness, you have a very clear point-by-point, step-by-step path to get to that end goal.
As you make the sequence, it's not like it's irreversible, like as a decision, right? It's not like you have to now stick with that sequence forever, right? You can trim it down, you can expand it, you can add emails, you can cut emails, you can change it around. It's not like your sequence is going to be set in stone forever. So if you're like, well, hey, this would be a great email that I could add to it, you add it and you see what works. You add if you have a significant effect. If you're like, well, this email is kind of weak, most people aren't reading it, then you can tweak that as well, right? It's not like you make one strategy and then that's the strategy you're going to use for the rest of all eternity. You can just change it up. Like you can try, like you can iterate upon your first sequence as well. That really helps me when doing projects like that, just to know, well, I can adjust, right? I can steer in a different direction if I notice that one direction isn't working.
There are, I would say, primary, secondary, and tertiary goals for every single email sequence. Primary goal, say you've been hired by a lawyer and the lawyer has a report how to get out of jail for free. And the goal when they sign up for this report is they're going to get a bunch of emails, and the goal is to get them to call in to the lawyer, make an appointment, yada, yada, yada. In terms of getting people to that goal, what do I need to tell people in order to get them to undertake that primary action? Say that lawyer also does affiliate deals with other lawyers. A secondary goal might be to not just get people to call, but also to be aware of and consider buying other affiliate offers or investigating other sources of information. Another thing too is, say that lawyer also rents his list out to other lawyers because he's an affiliate. That list needs to stay warm. So the tertiary goal might be engagement, for example, keeping people opening their email list with content that they are interested in reading. Think about an email sequence as being something like a chopped up sales letter. Step one, the lead, for example, is all about the main idea, also introducing oneself, providing credibility, yada, yada. At some point in that email sequence, you need to engage or provide some form of social proof. I've sent out emails where it was just like, just look at the results that these people have had listening to me. And then the email is just 38 testimonials. No copy in between, no explanation. For example, if you're writing a sequence that is designed to tee up a webinar, you obviously have to get people prepared to that, get people hyped for it, provide people a reason to stick and to do the thing that you want them to do. And so as long as you're thinking about that, an email sequence, as something like a sales letter, you should be fine. With modern autoresponders that you can buy off the shelf, you can also do what's called behavioral marketing, which is if somebody does or does not click or open a specific email in your sequence, you can choose to send an alternate series or sequence of emails. That's all possible too. And the knowledge necessary not only to make separate email sequences with branching behavioral characteristics, it's really good for what's called list segmentation, which is you have one pocket of people that are have certain affinities or things that they're interested in, and you can market to them in this particular way, and another group over here that have different affinities that you can market to in a different way. That tends to increase conversions and also gives you multiple ways to cater, test, etc. your messages. If you can position yourself as a behavioral marketer who specializes in email sequencing, whoa, can you make a lot of money?